Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. It's Cherika Brown, of course, and we're on another episode of Cherika Be Talking, cause I be talking. And on today's episode, we're going to talk about a few reasons why people should consider waiting until marriage to have sex, whether young, old, virgin, active, male, female, it doesn't matter. It's something that we should all aim to do. So what made me think about this topic is just everything that's going on in the world. And I was just on a coaching call last night where this message kind of came up, and I just been seeing this as a reoccurring theme and something that I've honestly wanted to talk about for a very long time. But as I always say, things that you talk about when you're speaking it out loud, not only do God hear us, but Satan hear us as well. So you'll try to be tested in those areas that you speak on. So let's keep all of us in prayer that are under the sound of my voice and that want to follow these type of things in life. So the first reason, I think I've created at least 5 that I could just think of off the top of my head. The very first reason, which is the most important reason, is God made sex for a covenant, and society could possibly get back to valuing marriage. So when I say God made sex for a covenant, he made it for marriage. A lot of times these days we're seeing recurring themes and topics on social media as, oh, everybody don't want to get married, or marriage ain't everybody's goal, and this and that and this. But if we get back to the foundation of why marriage is so important, it's because it's a covenant, not between you and just another person, but between you, that person, and also God, with God being the head of the relationship. And the point of it is to, the point of sex ultimately was to reproduce. Of course, you can enjoy it within a covenant, but I think people took the covenant out and just decided that they wanted to be lawless and just enjoy it. So people just use it for enjoyment. Therefore, people don't see the point and purpose of getting married, because why get married when we can do everything that married people do without actually having the covenant? That brings me to point number 2, which you would gain emotional clarity. It increases the chances of being with a partner you're truly compatible with. I know oftentimes when I talk to friends or family members, they say, oh, I can't leave him or I can't leave her because it's so good. So if you take that so good out of the equation and see that this person is so bad, or see that this person isn't truly a person that shares the same core values or interests in life that you share, you would gain, or it will be easier for you to move on, or leave a person alone if you don't have this warped perception of who they truly are just because you want to make yourself feel good for a few minutes. Number 3 is safety as far as disease prevention. If you are living in the Atlanta area, I think Houston, any of the major cities right now are definitely suffering right now with the HIV numbers skyrocketing, going through the roof. So not only is it safer being married these days, married and faithful, of course, because if you are married, we expect you to be faithful to your one partner. It actually can save your life. The Bible does tell us that the wages of sin is death. So we're seeing that before our eyes with people falling into sin, lustful sin, having multiple partners, fornicating, and ultimately society is reaping those repercussions, or we're, reaping what we're sowing into society, because everybody is just out here lawless and just having all kind of sins and promoting polygamous relationships, a lot of stuff going on. So all of those things are basically the byproduct. The diseases that we're seeing coming on the rise is a byproduct of just how we're behaving, which brings me to number 4. You will have less broken homes. Whether y'all want to believe it or not, having sex out of wedlock is just the downfall of a lot of men and women in general, just being lustful by nature. And people are so selfish and self-centered. You're so worried about feeling good that you're not thinking about the lives you're bringing into the world, and how people don't even really like each other, want to be together, or want to commit to each other. So you're creating trauma. Kids be having trauma before they even know what trauma is. You just see the situation that they're being birthed into and automatically know that child gonna grow up and have so many issues with the world just because of her mom and daddy relationship with each other. We don't need more of that in our world. So why not just hold off, wait, find somebody that you connect with, bond with, that y'all can agree that, yeah, we want to start a family together, and you actually want this with one another. So even if it don't work out in the long term, the foundation was love and it wasn't lust. And the last thing I would say for number 5 is soul ties are real. While you can form emotional soul ties, allowing someone to enter your temple and possibly leave pieces of DNA inside of you, create, like, it can be harder to overcome. It also contaminates your mind and causes you to compare people to previous partners when God never intended for us to experience multiple people. We see that on social media a lot. The post where it says, oh, you need to test drive the car before you buy it, and all of this and that. So people don't want to settle down because they feel like, because they've experienced too much, and they don't want something to be bad or something to be too little or too big or too thick or too skinny or whatever. So they have all of this experience under their belt that they know what they like and what they don't like, when God didn't really intend us to know what we don't like, or know what he intended for us to find a person that we can connect with, understand that sex is 90% mental, and then teach one another how to navigate each other's body, and ultimately we will be happy. Because how can you be mad when you don't have nothing to compare something to? If you think you got the best, you would never know what better is if you didn't experience better. So that's just something to think about. Sex before marriage brings about a perversion in the mind, if we're being honest, and it is starting to bleed onto society. We see it being portrayed in films, commercials, billboards, websites, social media, and just in everyday life, with what people are forcing on us to be normal. Like, I'm not going to get into controversial stuff on here. My opinion is my opinion, and if you don't agree with it, good riddance. However, in society, people are trying to force things on us that are against God's design. And all of those things come from the pornography and just watching certain things that are getting into our brains, and it's contaminating us. It's contaminating society, and it's all because of lust. And that lust is built because people aren't taking the covenant serious. And like I said, I was just talking about this on a coaching call yesterday, and this isn't even, I wouldn't say it's a male or female issue, because it's a human issue, if we're being honest, because women and men are very promiscuous these days. But I'm going to give y'all an example from my coaching call where, because it was with a man, I was coaching a guy, I did tell him that I wish that men could lead in this aspect. I feel like if you have a son, you are responsible for raising him with a certain mindset, so that sex and just being lustful isn't put on a pedestal. Because a lot of women only I wouldn't say value says or enjoy it, because of course it will be a human experience. A lot of women think it's so important because men emphasize it, especially culturally. And what I was telling him is, I wish, because with his particular situation, he took a girl out of town and he's on his spiritual walk or whatever, and he was like, he wished he would have just waited with this girl. And I was telling him, I wish men could lead in this aspect of a relationship, because everybody have to hold themselves accountable in order for a relationship to work. But the man's role in today's society is so important, because a lot of women feel obligated to do things. I explained that the perversion of social media, because this guy took her on a trip and he paid for everything, she likely felt like she was expected to do something with him. However, as the man, if he would have led with, I'm taking you on this trip because I like you, I want to see you in a different environment, I want to have fun, we want to do this, we're going to get to know each other better, we do not have to do anything. Like, if you just be real and tell her that, she possibly wasn't going to do anything either, or didn't want to do anything either. But to make it known that she liked this guy, she probably felt like I have to do something in order for him to understand that I like him, which is, you know, to me a little weird, but I think that's how women think just by seeing the things that I see on social media. Oftentimes we see topics like women saying, we grown, if a man flies you out, what you think gonna happen? You know what's gonna happen. You know what's expected. And oftentimes men say the same thing on social media. So if a woman isn't confident or strong-minded, she would think her body is a fair exchange for an economy flight and hotel. And while I really wish I could tell like every young woman or young lady that they are worth so much more, the voices online are much louder than I am, because the enemy doesn't want us to operate the way God planned for us to. He wants us far away from God's will as possible so that we can fail. And then when we fail, we'll curse God when things don't work out in our favor. Like, oh, why did I even meet this guy? Or why did I even meet this girl? You're just mad at God. But how can we expect things to work out in our favor if we are operating outside of God's will? We're all guilty of picking and choosing which parts of our faith that we want to follow. You know, even when it comes to like drinking, smoking, partying, listening to secular music, you go down the list. Each of us, we probably do one of the things, even if it's something as simple as listening to secular music or gossiping, or, you know, something that you may not think has a higher consequence than other sins. And that's why I don't agree with people either when they say no sin is greater than the other. I'm like, because some sins consequences are much greater, I disagree, because nothing can be casual about laying down with somebody and getting up with HIV, okay? If I gossip or whatever, gossiping ain't gonna give me HIV. But that's not like condoning the behavior. I'm just letting you know, like, people can say all day that no sin is greater than the other, but the consequences of sins are very different. So that's something to consider. So I think we need to take our bodies very seriously and just hold out. Like, start doing things instead that'll make you feel, you know, closer to God, and just praying more and just trying to be more active and do things that take your mind off of the actual act so that you can ultimately get closer to God. The closer you are to God, the less likely you are to fall into sin. And then when you do fall short, repent and just make it your business to make it a goal to save yourself until you're married. But I hope this message helps somebody, inspires somebody, and just remind y'all to not give up. If you are on that journey and you are going strong, continue going strong. Don't let people tell you your goal is impossible or it'll never happen, because it's better to follow God's rule and to, you know, never get what you thought you wanted out of life than to break his law or break his rule and then end up in a life of sin or repercussions that you also wouldn't like. You know, it's better to just do right and possibly gain a reward than to do wrong and for sure fall short. But I hope this message helped y'all, and y'all know I'll be back because I'll be talking. Peace.